I had been a stonewife for 10 years. At 51 and 200 be my life. Had settled into idle routine. My husband and I had been sleeping in separate rooms for 2 years. Then one day my son George looked at me with annoyance and said, "You do nothing all day. You don't understand anything, just stay out of my business." That waste moment, I realized I couldn't keep living like this. I had to change. My husband had long since stopped seeing me, barely received any understanding or affection from him, and my days felt suffocating. But hearing those words from George, my beloved son, was what truly shattered me. I buried my face in my pillow and sobbed uncontrollably. I cried until I felt hollow, as if I had drained every last tear. When I finally pulled myself together, I washed my face and reached for my old makeup, expired and barely used. I applied it as best as I could, then slipped into the best dress I owned. It was 3 years old, but I had cherished it. After getting ready, I felt a little better. I took a few selfies and uploaded them to Reddit with a simple caption: "What do I need to improve, ladies? Please give me some advice." Within an hour, my post exploded. The comments poured in an overwhelming flood of sarcasm, mockery, and cruelty, most of it from men. "Oh my God, are you built like a rectangle, ma'am? This isn't about improvement. You need a complete reboot. Lose weight, please. For your own health. I'm begging you, is this real? Go buy some decent clothes and fix yourself up." Humiliation washed over. Methy weren't wrong. I had let myself go. The endless household chores had drained me, and food had become my only comfort. I owed too much, exercised too little, and even my own husband and son looked down on me. As for new clothes or makeup, my gave me just $1,000 a month for household expenses, barely enough for groceries and bills. Where would I find the money to take care of myself amidst the flood of cruel words? I found a few honest and well-meaning comments. One from a woman named Sunny Bunny stood out. First, get a job. Second, throw out those old clothes and buy new ones. Third, eat right and exercise. If you learn to love yourself, someone else will see you're worth. Becoming healthier and more confident is the best thing you can do for yourself. I decided to follow her advice. Step 1, get a job. After 10 years without work, job hunting felt almost impossible, but I had made up my mind. I couldn't backstage drift through life like this anymore. Eventually, I landed 2 jobs, one as a supermarket stalker and another as a part-time milk delivery driver. Supermarket stalker, 30,000 month, alternating shifts. Milk delivery, 600 month, working from 500 a.m. to 7 a.m. The night before my first shift, I sat George down and told him, "I'm starting my new job tomorrow. IWB Hamedo, make breakfast. You'll have to eat cereal. It's in the second cabinet." George's eyes widened. "Wait, what then? Who's taking to school?" I patted his shoulder and said, "School is 15 minutes away. You can walk your 10. Now it's time to grow up." George looked a little hurt, his eyes turning red as he muttered, "Mom, I was just joking last time. I didn't really mean that you do nothing. You just nag a lot and it gets annoying. Please don't be mad at me, okay?" I knew he still loved me, but he had already been influenced by his father. Just like Henry, he saw me as useless. I sighed, swallowing, the bitterness rising in my chest. "Sweethearty, I'm not mad. I just want to be better, to be a good role model for you. I have to work hard with that." I left his room. Henry, my husband, came home late as always, oblivious to everything I was going through. Not that it mattered. I hadn't made him breakfast. Anyway, 3 days passed. Then, unexpectedly, Henry came home in time and was waiting for me. He sat on the couch, arms crossed, his expression and unreadable. The moment I walked in, he glared at me and growled, "Where the hell have you been?" I casually took off me coat and hung it up. "At work." "Work, and you didn't think to discuss this with May?" Looked at his furious face and felt nothing but exhaustion. "Was there a need? If you actually cared, you would have an artist." Before 3 days had passed, Henry flinched. Clearly caught off guard, he ran a frustrated hand through his hair and snapped, "What are you trying to do? Why did you suddenly decide to get a job? Do you even care about George? His teacher called me today. He hasn't done any of his homework." "What kind of mother are you?" I kept washing vegetables and flipping the steak in the pan, taking my time before I finally turned to him. "Am too exhausted from work. I don't have the time to help him with his homework." Henry slammed his palm against the table. "So that's it? You're just going to ignore him? What about his future?" I let out a short laugh. "Why don't you help him? I have a job now too. Why is it automatically my responsibility?" Henry was speechless for a moment, then scoffed coldly. "Fine, if that's how you want it. I'm cutting off your household money." I couldn't help but laugh. "Oh no, not the $1,000. What a tragedy. Do you really think $1,000 is worth my free labor? Cooking, cleaning, raising a kid, and tutoring him on top of that urine belt." I tossed the vegetables into the pan and turned to him. "From now on, everything is split. Economy, housework, all of it." A month later, I received my first paycheck. I divided the money into 3 parts, one for savings, one for household expenses, and one for me to celebrate. I took George out for the pizza he had been craving and even bought him a new toy. His face lit up. Thanks, Mom, you're the best. Did you earn this money yourself? I nodded. Yep, if I only made my own money. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Every morning I leave the house at 4 o'clock a.m. It's pitch black outside, freezing cold, and at the supermarket. Someone complained about me and they took $50 from my paycheck. George listened to me talk about how hard my job was. His expression gradually shifting, mommy / reworking. I don't need the toy, he murmured, lowering his head in shame. I smiled and ruffled his hair. Don't worry about money, sweetheart. Just remember, study hard. The better you do in school, the more choices you'll have in the future. You'll be able to get a good job and won't have to struggle like I did. I wasn't sure if he fully understood, but after that day, he seemed to mature a little afterward. It took him to the mall. I bought myself a new outfit and a fresh bottle of foundation. Nothing fancy, just something within my budget. Then I put on my new clothes, redid my makeup, and snapped a dinosaur photo for Reddit. 1 month into work, any more advice for improvement, ladies, in all ears? I wanted both critics and the supporters to see I wasn't just talking, I was truly committed to changing, and just like before, my post went viral. Wow, losing weight is basically like getting plastic surgery. You're amazing, I'm a STOM mom too, and I'm inspired to follow your lead. Is this really the same person? Or do you have a skinnier twin sister? Even Sunny Bunny commented, seeing this makes me so happy. Keep going. In just 1 month, working 2 jobs, I had lost 40 pounds. I was still on the heavier side, but I looked better. Even Henry had started treating me with a bit more respect then. Out of nowhere, someone I hadn't seen in a long time showed up, my mother-in-law, Lucy. I had just gotten home from work when I heard Lutz's voice before I even opened the door. Did your mom buy this for you? So she finally got a job? Well, it's good, better than lying around the house like a lazy pig. George's voice was firm. Mom works really hard. He bought this for me on purpose. I didn't hear what Lucy said next because I had already stepped inside the moment she saw me. She shut her mouth. Her smile turned a little stiff. Hi, Anna, my dear. I just came by to visit. Why are you getting home so late? I get off work at this time, I said simply, then turned to George. How was your day? Did you finish your homework? You need to make sure you'll complete all of Mrs. Susie's assignments on time. George let out a dramatic sigh. Yeah, I will, Grandma. Don't leave. Okay, once I finish my homework, I have so much to tell you. Lucy beamed at him, immediately softening. Oh, my precious George. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. After bringing George a glass of water, she wandered into the kitchen. She frowned. Is this all you're making for dinner? This is way too simple. I had made fried chicken nuggets and tomato soup, plus a lemon fish dish. Extra just for Lucy since she had dropped, Boone announced, but she barely glanced at it before criticizing. Me, you should make more vegetables than beef. He needs balanced nutrition. My grandson loves pan-seared steak. I let out a cold laugh. Lucy, never satisfied with anything I did. Every time she visited, she had to comment on everything from my cooking tummy, housekeeping, to my clothes. But I didn't want to argue with her. Instead, I said calmly, I got off work to Latitude, but I'll make steak. Over the weekend, you and Daniel can come over for dinner. Then Lucy didn't say much after that. She just folded her arms and went back to watching TV. A little while later, Henry came home. The moment saw his mother, he lit up, and the two of them exchanged warm greetings, chatting like they hadn't seen each other in years. Meanwhile, I was finishing up dinner. I turned to Henry and said, go check Showmark. If everything looks good, call him out for dinner. He hesitated, but nodded reluctantly. Since my work hours were irregular, Henry had to step up and take over homework supervision, and now for the first time he was experiencing firsthand just how frustrating it was to get a procrastinating kid to finish his assignments. I watched silently as the usual father-son homework battle unfolded. After a few rounds of this, Henry finally understood how exhausting tutoring a child could be. In the past, I would have worried and stepped in to help, but now I saw no reason to make life harder for myself. But Lucy, hearing all the commotion, suddenly got that calculating glint in her eyes. She pulled Henry aside and whispered, let Anna do ITV. Had a long day, just sit down and rest. I nearly laughed, and I haven't had a long day. I've been working too, and I didn't even get a chance to sit down yet. Henry cleared his throat and said, it's fine. He'll do it. Honest teaching skills are great anyway. Of course, he wasn't going to admit in front of his mother that I had practically forced this responsibility onto him. Lucy, however, looked puzzled. It had only been a little over a month since her last visit, but somehow everything in this house felt different. She glanced at me with growing suspicion. I ignored her and quietly at the table, calling everyone to dinner after dinner. Lucy finally got to the reason for her visit. You both know your father's health isn't great. I have to take care of him all day, which means I won't have time to come here and help you out anymore. I almost rolled my eyes when I gave birth to George. She had said the exact same thing. She always claimed to love her grandson dearly, but she never once changed a single diaper. My aunt mother was busy taking care of my brother's child at the time, so I had no help. That's how I ended up being a full-time stepmom for 10 years. Henry, ever the devoted son, immediately responded, Mom, don't say that you've worked so hard for so many years. Lucy let out a delicate sigh. You have no idea. House is a mess these days. I just don't have the energy to keep it clean anymore. I knew exactly what she was getting at before. I used to go to her house twice a week to clean, cook, do her laundry, change her sheets, and even scrub her toilets. She never did any of it herself because, as she put it, well, you're just at home doing nothing anyway, so you might as well help out. But now that I had a job, I no longer had time to be her unpaid mate. Henry had always known about this arrangement, but in his mind, it was just a minor chore, not even worth noticing. But now, hearing his mother complain, he was finally starting to realize just how much I had been handling all these years. Henry cleared his throat and turned to me. Why don't you go to my mom's this weekend and see if you can help her out? I responded, I only get one day off a week and I'm working Saturday. I can go on Sunday, but George has plans with his friend on Sunday. Why don't you take him? Or better yet, why don't you go help Lucy clean up? Henry hesitated. Normally Saturdays were his full day, with George making breakfast, taking him to his friend, picking him up, and then supervising his homework in the afternoon. By the end of the day, he was house dead. He barely had the energy to speak. It was harder than going to work back when I was a full-time housewife. He never lifted a finger at home. He just lounged on the couch watching TV while I did everything. Now, hearing my suggestion, immediately rejected it. That's not happening. Lutz's face darkened, sensing tension. Henry quickly added, Mom, Anna is working now. He doesn't have time. How about I hire a housekeeper to come by once a week? Lucy scoffed. Hire someone with what money? Are you rich now? We can't. Anna, just squeeze in a little time, or better yet, why don't you help me clean? The irony was that Lucy was barely 60, perfectly healthy, and fully capable of taking care of her own house. The only reason she used to make me do it was because she saw me as a freeloader living off her son's money. In her mind, it needed to earn my keep, but hiring a professional cleaner, that was unacceptable. Dinner ended on a sour note. Neither Henry nor Lucy could agree, and they both just exchanged awkward glances at the supermarket. I worked incredibly hard, grateful for every opportunity. I never shied away from the tough tasks, and because of that, I had a great relationship with my coworkers. One of them was Sunny Smith, a woman who, despite being 50, looked far younger than me. At 40, she was effortlessly elegant, always well-dressed, and had an infectious energy about her. Over time, we became friendly, chatting about fashion and self-care tips. I had a long way to go, and it came to improving my appearance, but I wasn't just doing this to win back Henry's affection or George approval. I was doing it for myself. I wanted to feel confident from the inside out. I even started sharing my transformation journey online, and surprisingly, I was gaining a small following. Sunny often gave me beauty and fashion advice, and when she learned about my home situation, she sighed in sympathy. Sometimes I'd bring her lunch, always making sure it was still warm when I handed it over. One day, while we were alone in the office, Sunny leaned in and said, Anna, I have some news. I'm leaving this job. I was stunned. Sunny was an accountant with a great salary and solid benefits. Sure, the workload was heavy, but from my perspective, it was an incredibly stable and respectable career. She wasn't just in charge of the finances for our store, she also managed the accounts for 2 other locations in the district. She was making good money, so if she was leaving, where was she going? And was it somewhere better? Sunny seemed to read my thoughts and smiled. You don't plan on being a stock clerk forever, do you? Would you like to move up? I was taken aback. What do you mean? Shellington slightly. I won't be leaving immediately. If you're serious about advancing, use this time to earn GIA certification. Once you do, I can train you, familiarize you with the job, and you few backs/rear, it'll recommend you to take over my position. Before I leave, a surge of excitement shot through me. My entire body felt electrified. Thank you, Sydney. Thank you so much. She chuckled. The opportunity is in your hands, but if you didn't pass the exam, none of this matters, do you understand? I clenched my fist. I will pass. I promised, determined to get my certified internal auditor GIA certification. I quit my milk delivery job and dedicated every spare moment to studying. Sunny didn't just encourage, Mesh mentored me. She shared study techniques, lent me her old reference books, and supported me in ways I never expected. I promised myself that one day I would find a way to repay her. Even me husband and son noticed my dedication one evening as I pored over my textbooks. George peered over my shoulder and gasped, Mom, the stuff looks really hard. He flipped through the pages, his eyes widening at the dense technical jargon. I smiled. How about this? You grab a book too and we study together. Let's have a competition. Whoever scores higher in their next test wins. George's eyes lit up. If I get a higher score on Miss Susie's quiz next week, what's my prize? I thought for a moment you can pick any toy you want, but if I pass my exam, what do I get? He grinned. We give you a whole week. We shook hands on it, then laughed and hugged. It was one of the rare moments where I felt truly happy, but from the corner of the room. Henry muttered coldly, what an act. I knew he was struggling. He wanted to talk to me, but didn't know how. At least he was no longer barking orders at me. Like before, I didn't waste my energy responding. My focus was locked on one goal, passing the exam. If I landed Suni's job, my salary would double, and even if I left this supermarket one day, I have real experience and a professional certification. I'd never be trapped again. This was my one chance to turn my life around, and I was going to seize it. 2 months later, I passed the check exam. My weight had also dropped from 200 to 175. I was still chubby. But as the women in my Reddit comments put it, I had officially entered the cute curvy category. Sunny was thrilled for me. You did it. Now that you have your certification, let's get you up to speed on the job. She walked me through everything. The bookkeeping process, tax filings, and payroll systems looks complicated. But it's mostly about accuracy and attention to detail. In this field, experience matters more than raw talent. She even showed me how to navigate tax software, manage financial reports, and maintain relationships with banks and tax authorities. Sunny held nothing back. One of our coworkers pulled me aside and whispered, what's the deal with you? And Sunny, why is she helping you so much? I had no answer. Why sit? Simply because we got along. Was it because I had brought her lunch a few times? Whatever the reason, thanks to her, my transition into this role was going smoothly. With Sunny's recommendation, I started handling simple tasks at first, gradually working my way into more core responsibilities. One day, she took me to the bank for some transactions and personally introduced me to her contacts there. She even told them that I'd soon be the one handling these matters, subtly asking them to take care of me in the future. At that moment, if Sunny was some long-lost sister of mine, maybe my mom had secretly left another daughter out in the world, but logically that was impossible. She had high cheekbones, deep-set eyes, and a sharp nose, while I had smaller eyes and a delicate nose. We looked nothing alike. While Sun was chatting with the bank manager, I excused myself to use the restroom inside. I overheard a soft feminine voice talking on the phone. Do you have time for lunch today? There was a pause. Then her tone sharpened slightly. Oh. Never have time for me on weekends, and now you won't even come out for lunch. Be careful, I might just stop talking to you altogether. I flushed the toilet and stepped out. At the mirror, a tall woman with long hair and striking features was touching up her makeup with a powder poo. I recognized her. She was a bank employee. Sunny had greeted her earlier, calling her Rossi after finishing our business at the bank. Sunny and I decided to grab lunch. Across the street was a high-end restaurant, and Sunny insisted on treating me. I glanced at the menu, $218 per person. I immediately shook my head just as I was about to insist on paying to repay her kindness. Sunny waved me off. If you're out with Mayo or not paying, stop arguing and sit down. Let's take that window seat. I was so grateful. I could hardly speak. It was my first time dining at a place like this. They served black tiger, shrimp cod, steak mussels, a dazzling spread of delicious dishes as I ate. I made a silent promise once my salary increased, I'd bring George here to try it, to Anne, maybe even Henry. Recently had been less insufferable than before. Just then, from the table behind us, we heard an argument. What do you mean? Are you breaking up with me? It was a sharp, irritated female voice. Sunny stifled a giggle, whispering, isn't that Rossi Shashur? Didn't waste time finding someone new after her divorce? Then a man's voice responded, a voice that sent a shiver down my spine. That's not what I meant. I've just been busy. George won't listen to me lately, and his teacher keeps calling. I barely have time for anything. I went completely still, the knife and fork in my hands. Trembled. The man sitting across from Rossi was my husband, Henry. Rossi's tone softened, turning into a gentle whine. I don't care. You need to make time for me. Olivia was even asking about you, she said. Uncle Henry hasn't visited in so long. I miss him. Henry immediately started coaxing her. I'll get Olivia that doll she wanted, the one she told me about last time. Okay, Rossi's mood brightened. Ah, you remembered what she likes now. That's more like it. My heart plummeted to the bottom of my chest. I felt lightheaded. My legs wake beneath me. I didn't even know how I made it home. But the worst part, I didn't even have the courage to expose them right then and there. For the past 2 years of sleeping in separate rooms, I had suspected Henry was cheating on me, but without proof. All I could do was torture myself day after day, trapped in my own doubts, and every time I would convince myself, no, he wouldn't do that. He may treat me poorly, but he's still a responsible father and husband. But now the truth had slapped me in the face, and the truth was cooler than I ever imagined. He wouldn't splurge on a nice dinner for me and our son, but he dined lavishly with his mistress. He wouldn't buy George a simple toy, but he was more than happy to buy his mistress's daughter an expensive doll. I was shaking with rage, every fiber of my being screaming at me to storm over and tear those two shameless people apart, but I didn't. I hesitated. The house we lived in, Henry's premarital property, we divorced. I wouldn't get a penny from it. His savings and assets, I had no clue for all these years. I had been nothing but a full-time housewife. Completely powerless, financially blind, and legally unprotected. If I filed for divorce, I would be the one walking away with nothing. And what about George? My parents lived with my brother's family. They didn't have space for me if I left. I would have to rent a place and raise my son alone. But if I left without custody, Henry would build a new family with his mistress and her daughter, George. Would be left with his grandmother, trapped in a house where he would never be truly loved. He was just a child. Why should he suffer for his father's sins? And why was this happening to me? I had never hurt anyone. I had been nothing but a devout wife and mother. Why was I the one being punished? I swallowed the betrayal, shoving it deep inside me, and like E always did, I turned to Reddit to vent my emotions without revealing the full truth. The comments exploded, some were sympathetic, urging me to leave immediately and break free from the cycle of pain. But others, they were like daggers slicing through my already bleeding wounds. Have you ever stopped to reflect on yourself after seeing your old pictures? ID say your husband cheating is pretty understandable. Who would want to live with someone like that? Honestly, the fact that he hasn't divorced you yet is proof of his patience. Takes two to ruin a marriage, Mabe. You're the one in the wrong. What if they truly love each other? Remember, the one who isn't loved is always the third party. Their words felt like knives to my chest, but the more they hurt, the more I forced myself to read them. I needed to stay clear-headed. Every word reminded me of my own foolishness, the 10 years I wasted living in denial, letting myself rot away in that miserable marriage. How could I have let myself become this weak? How could I have lived without self-respect for so long? I hated myself, but one comment stood out among the rest. Sunny Bunny, my most loyal follower, gave him the harshest yet most practical advice of all. If you can endure it until you have the power to fight back. Right now, treat your husband as nothing more than a financial tool, Samin, who pays the bills and takes care of the kid. Maximize your advantage before you cut him loose. And in that meant, I made a decision. I wouldn't leave, not yet. I would endure, I would play along, pretend, and bide my time. And when I was finally ready, I would destroy him. I spent a few days mentally preparing myself, determined to follow Sunny Bunny's advice. Treat this marriage as nothing more than a business partnership, a joint effort to raise our child, and most importantly, milk every last bit of Henry's resources before walking away. Meanwhile, Sunny officially submitted her resignation and aspirmized. She recommended me for her position. The store managers held a meeting and ultimately approved the transition. They liked that I had a strong work ethic, a good reputation, and a responsible attitude, plus hiring a new accountant from scratch would be time-consuming. It was much easier to promote someone who is already trained, so just like that, I went from being a stock clerk to an accountant, a professional career with double the salary. It all felt like a dream. Before leaving, Sunny gave me one last heartfelt piece of advice. Anna, work hard and believe in yourself. You're incredibly capable, you just need confidence. If you keep improving, you'll get promotions, raises, and better opportunities. Keep learning new skills. You never know when you'll need them. I nodded firmly. Sunny, I promise you'll do my best. And I swear one day I'll repay you for everything you've done for me. She smiled. I know, Yawel. I have faith in you. Taking over Sunny's job turned out to be far more challenging than I had imagined. Luckily, she had prepared me well without her detailed explanations and step-by-step guidance. I would have made a million mistakes. I dedicated myself to getting every single financial report right, proving my competence to the store managers. Over time, though, I started to miss Sunny. She wasn't as responsive as before. Sometimes days would go by before I'd receive a simple encouraging message, and even when I finally managed to reach her, I always say she was busy with something. Her new job seemed just as demanding, leaving me no choice but to wait for her to have a free moment. But outside of work, something unexpected happened. My following was growing rapidly. More and more women in similar situations started reaching out to measuring their struggles, and we supported each other. Everyone watched my transformation in real time, from a 5/1 2,200 pounds walking cylinder to a 5/1 120 pounds confident woman. My fashion sense and makeup skills improved significantly, and even my photography had taken on a new level. Professionalism, somehow my entire presence changed. My once ordinary appearance now carried a new radiance after all I was only 40. A woman's beauty doesn't fade at 40. It just needs to be rediscovered. Then something even more surprising happened. Women on my platform began asking me for fashion advice. Your coat is styled so well, it gave me some inspiration. Where did you buy those shoes? I absolutely love them. I sat there staring at the comments, feeling a wave of emotion wash over me. I never imagined that one day people would admire my sense of style. A year ago, I used to stand in front of the mirror crying, Nano, I was someone women looked up to George, idolized me. Now, Mom, my classmates keep asking me if I got a new mom. They didn't even recognize you anymore. You're officially the prettiest mom in our class. That was a bit of an exaggeration, but I couldn't help but laugh and shake my head. One of the other parents, someone I had always gotten along with, even DM'd me privately to ask if I had undergone plastic surgery or liposuction. I couldn't blame them for being suspicious after all. We were all style moms who used to pick up and drop off our kids wearing the same 2 outfits on rotation. Now my entire style, energy, and presence had transformed. If Henry weren't still showing up to pick up George, the school moms would have been convinced we had gotten a divorce. Honestly, that rumor wasn't entirely unfounded, but I didn't care anymore. I had finally realized that the only thing I could truly rely on was my work and my own money. Most of my income went straight into savings. It wasn't enough yet, but when the opportunity arose, my first priority would be buying my own home. My accounting job had become second nature, but I didn't stop there after work. I threw myself into learning new skills: digital media, photo editing, video production, and surprisingly, my side hustle as a content creator started making even more money than my accounting job. The only downside wasn't a stable income. So I made a bold move. I hired an assistant, one of my loyal followers, a former white-collar worker turned style mom who had previous experience in social media management. She only had a few hours a day to work, but she was incredibly professional and turned my accounts into a wild machine. Every payday, she would tell me how much happier she felt now that she had her own income. I finally feel like I have a voice at home, she once said, beaming hearing that. I couldn't help but think if it weren't for Sunny, I'd still be drowning misery. We women had to help each other, but I didn't stop there. I was constantly pushing myself, enrolling in online courses and learning new skills. I barely had time to breathe. If I could have 48 hours in a day, it still wouldn't be enough. And when I thought about how I had wasted the last 10 years, God wanted to go back in time and slap some sense into my past self. If I had woken up earlier, I would have already built my own savings and wouldn't have to strategize my escape now. That evening, Lucy came over again the moment she saw the table full of pizza. Her face twisted with disapproval. Why aren't you cooking dinner? George can't keep eating this junk, she complained. But that didn't stop her from grabbing a slice and eating just as much as everyone else. I didn't even bother responding. My time was precious. Why the hell should I waste it and scrubbing dishes every single night if I could pay for convenience and make my life easier? I absolutely would, and honestly, if it weren't for the sake of avoiding drama, I would have flat out asked her, if you're so concerned about home-cooked meals, why don't you cook? But before I could say anything, George spoke up. Grandma, I asked him to buy pizza. Isn't it delicious? Lucy scoffed, rolling her eyes. Oh, sure, your mom buys you everything, but when your dad gets you something, you never brag about it, do you? George paused, thinking seriously. Then in the most innocent voice, he said, well, Dad never buys me anything, so I can't exactly lie about it, can I? Lutz's face darkened. She shot him a sharp glare. You ungrateful child. But George just grinned. Just telling the truth. Of course, Henrik Hart was never with us. His love, his attention, his money all belonged to Rossi and Olivia. Now the only reason he even bothered with George was to keep up appearance. Was barely an effort at this point. I didn't bother arguing with Lucy. I had too much on my plate to waste time bickering with her. But just as George finished his sentence, the front door opened. Henry had come home, and in his hands a gift, a toy train set for George. I glanced at the box. It was probably worth $50, a rare display of generosity. Lucy immediately jumped up from the couch, beaming, your dad loves you the most. Now tell me, isn't your father Thebist? I couldn't stomach watching them put on this disgusting act without a word. I got up and excused myself. I have work to do. Then I locked myself in my room. Just as I shut the door, I heard Lucy whispered, does she really make that McMoney? How much is she earning a month? Henry shushed her, muttering something in a low voice. Then came Luke's gasp of disbelief. No way, that much. You better make sure she doesn't waste ITL. You need to get some of that money from her. I let out a silent laugh. I knew exactly what those two were scheming. Before she left, Lucy gathered up all the leftovers, smiling at me for the first time in years. Anna, no need to see me out. You're so busy. Go back to work. Almost laughed out loud. In all the years I had been married, I had never seen Lucy act this friendly toward me. That night after George fell asleep, I finished up my work and got into bed. I had just turned off the lights when suddenly the door creaked open. Henry, he slipped into bed beside me, whispering in my ear, are you asleep? Come on, I know you're awake. Every hair on my body stood on end. I shoved him away immediately, switching on the lamp. I'm tired. I need to sleep. Henry chuckled, inching closer. Keep it down, don't wake. George, I took a deep breath, my fists clenched. Go back to your own room. Henry hesitated, then sighed. Anna stopped being mad. It's been long enough. We should make up, don't you think? Look, I'm here with sincerity. I said, go back to your room. He blinked confused as if my firm rejection didn't make sense to him, then suddenly his voice softened, turning into a sickly sweet coaxing tone. Come on, baby, don't be like this. I'm apologizing, okay? George A. Solder, now we should take this chance and have a second baby, second baby. I felt my stomach churn, so that was his plan. Note that I had changed. Now that I was glowing, desirable, valuable again, suddenly he wanted to come crawling back. I felt pure disgust. I tried to push him off, but he just laughed and kept pressing closer. That's when I drew in a deep breath and slapped him across the face hard. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. Henry froze, his eyes went bloodshot. His jaw clenched, his fists curling in rage. Are you insane? Yeah, you at me? Do you want me to make you kneel? If this had been the old me, I would have shrunk back in fear. Apologized immediately, maybe even cried, but no, I lifted my chin and stared him down. And in a voice calm, cold, and unwavering, I said, who is Rossi and who is Olivia Daydu? Really think I didn't know about your filthy little secrets? Henry stared at me completely stunned and speechless. It took him a full minute before he finally sat on the edge of the bed, his face twisted in disbelief. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? There's nothing between me and Rossi. I let out a cold laugh and casually pulled out my phone. I tapped the play button. Rossi's voice, clear as day, played in the dimly lit room. Heck, visit Olivia. When I have time, maybe we can go see a movie together, and if things aren't too busy, I should take a trip. Henrik's eyes widened, his hands began to tremble. You were spying on me, I smirked. Don't flatter yourself. I don't have time to investigate you. I leaned forward, my voice dripping with mockery. Our supermarket does business with her bank I work directly with. Her manager, that's how I got these recordings. Pure coincidence, really? Henry swallowed hard. This isn't what it looks like. Let me explain. I tilted my head, smirking. I did love to hear your explanation. He hesitated for a second before blurting out, it's not what you think. Our company needed a loan from Rossi's bank. She's divorced, and while she's easy, she flirts with everyone. I just played along to get things done. I let out a light chuckle. Oh, how dedicated of you. You even took care of her daughters. Niece, how thoughtful. I clapped my hands slowly, my eyes gleaming with mockery. Truly impressive work. Henry, a flicker of shame crossed his face. Then, with an exaggerated sigh, he changed tactics. Sweetheart, don't be mad. I know I messed up in the past, but our marriage wasn't great for a long time. I made mistakes, but no woman out there could ever replace you. I love you. I love our family. He suddenly dropped to his knees in the bed, raising his hand as if making a sacred vow. I swear to you, it's over with Rossi. I will never betray you again. You've changed so much over the past year. You've become more hardworking, more beautiful. I've seen it all. His eyes gleamed with sincerity. Please let him start over. Let him fix our marriage. I looked at him, his desperate, pleading expression, and felt a strange mix of emotions, bitterness, Bernie, and the overwhelming urge to laugh. This is exactly what I used to want for 10 years. I had begged for his love, respect, and attention. I had cried, argued, pleaded, and compromised. I had tried everything in gentle talks, emotional breakdowns, rational discussions, even screaming matches, but back then, none of it worked. Back then, I was a powerless woman begging for validation. Now, I finally understood people only respect those who didn't need their approval. When I was at my lowest, Henry had been indifferent, even cruel. But now that I was thriving, that I had rebuilt myself, suddenly I was worth fighting for. I gave him a small, unreadable smile. They say cheaters didn't cheat just once. They cheat countless times. Why should I believe you? Henry hesitated. Not everyone is like that. I've changed. No matter what happens, it'll always come back to you. Believe me. Tilted my head. You're not very convincing. His brows furrowed. Then what will make you believe me? I tapped my chin thoughtfully before replying. We've been married for so many years, yet I've never even seen your finances. If you really want to prove your sincerity, hand over your salary card. For the first time that night, Henry's face drained of color. His reaction was even worse than when I caught him cheating. His smile vanished, his expression twisted. This time he looked truly terrified. Henrik's face twisted as he forced out a response. Johaven managed money for years. How can I trust you with it now? I let out a sharp, mocking laugh. Are you serious? I'm an accountant now, Henry. I handle the finances for 3 major supermarket chains. Do you even know how much money flows through in a single day? Trust me, I can manage a little household budget just fine. Henry's jaw clenched. He bit his lip, then tried to change the subject. I never asked you for money, but now you're demanding mine. Let me ask you, how much are you even making these days? You're not just blowing it all, are you, bot? There it is. So this was what tonight was really about. Not about our marriage, about love, not even about Rossi. It was about money. I scoffed. How much you make is not of your business. If you don't trust me, why should I trust you? Henrik's mouth opened, then closed for the first time. He had no comeback after a long pause. He muttered, I heard you scheduled private health checkups for your parents at a top-tier hospital. Dania, I just stared at him, cold and indifferent. Henry continued. I'm not saying you shouldn't take care of your parents, but my dad's been sick for Urshly. Didn't you ever help him? Heck, your family. Dude almost laughed out loud. I really want to know, I said slowly. How you manage to be so shameless. I tilted my head whenever you expect something from. Do you ever stop to think about what you've given me in return for 10 years? You sent money to your parents every month, bought them gifts, paid their medical bills. Did you ever spend a single dime on mine? Henry puffed up hissed like he was the most righteous man on earth. That money was mine. I earned it off. Course, I spent it on my parents. What does that have to do with you? That was the moment something in my mind clicked. I could feel my own voice inside my head, screaming at me to stop engaging. Nefwi, are you even having this conversation? This man will never change. And in that moment, everything became crystal clear. I looked Henry dead in the eye, letting get a divorce for the first time in our entire marriage. The house fell completely silent. It was like the world itself paused. Henry blinked, visibly shaken. Then he forced out a nervous laugh. You're trying to scare me. I pulled back the covers, lay down, and closed my eyes. I'm tired. Letting go to the courthouse tomorrow and file. Henrik's breathing became uneven. His voice weakened. All right, stop messing around. I said I was wrong. Didn't he? Just calm down. I turned onto my side, my tone flat, emotionless. Tomorrow afternoon works for me. It won't take long. I heard him exhale sharply, his breath ragged, but for me there was no fear, no hesitation, no heartbreak. All I felt was relief, so this was what it felt like to finally be free. Henry must have sensed it too. That's when he panicked. Hellison, how about this? We'll give you 4.0 a month, but I want full transparency. Every month you have to show me a detailed breakdown of where the money goes. That's fair, right? I nearly burst out laughing. He really thought this was some kind of compromise. I sat up and stared at him like he was an idiot. Are you seriously trying to negotiate right now? Henry stiffened. What do you mean? I folded my arms. I'm an accountant, Henry. I don't work for free. If you want me to do bookkeeping, you'll have to pay me a consulting fee. Darkened. That's not what I meant. I cut him off. If you really want to prove your sincerity, hand over your salary card. Add my name to the house deed. Otherwise, don't waste my time. Feckler drained from his face. This time, his reaction was even worse. Then when I exposed his affair, he looked like a dog with its tail caught in a trap. Panicked, furious, and desperate. His voice turned hoarse, full of rage and disbelief. Are you insane? You think I'm just going to hand everything over to you? What kind of scam is this? I simply rolled over, pulling thick covers over me. You're the one begging me to stay. Remember, think about it and get back to me. I wasn't worried because deep down, I already knew the answer. Henry would never agree to my terms, and that I was finally free to walk away the next day at noon. I called Henry to meet me at the courthouse. His phone kept going to voicemail. I sighed, coward. I wasn't going to waste my time chasing him down. Instead, I sat down and reviewed my finances. I still didn't have enough for a down payment on a house, but it wasn't a problem. So I took the next best step. I rented a small apartment near my workplace. It was simple, clean, and mine that evening. I picked up George from school and took him out for dinner. As we ate, I carefully broached the subject. George, sweetheart, I need to talk to you about something. Your dad and we've decided to separate, but listen to Mebeth. Of us love you so much, you'll always have a home with either one of us. Do you understand? Tears immediately welled up in his eyes. Then, in a broken sob, he cried, No, Mom, please, we be good. I won't ask for toys anymore. I listened to you, just please don't get divorced. His small shoulders shook his little body, hiccuping from crying too hard. Then, echoed out something that crushed me. My classmate said that after a divorce, no one will take care of me, no one will love me anymore. I reached across the table, cupping his face gently. Sweetheart, listen to me. Divorce isn't just an ending. It's also a new beginning, and sometimes new beginnings can be really, really good. I promise you, I will take care of you. I will love you more than ever. You don't have to be scared. Jorah's tear-filled eyes searched mine. Really? I smiled and nodded firmly. Really? He sniffled. Then I want to stay with Umam. That was all I needed to hear that night. I packed up our things and left. When Henry came home and saw the empty house, he finally realized I wasn't bluffing at first. He tried calling, texting, even showing up at my work to argue, but after I ignored every attempt, finally accepted reality and switched tactics. He wanted to negotiate IOD. A divorce wasn't about love anymore. It was about money and custody. Henrik's voice was tight with anger. You brought this on yourself. Let me make something clear. You're not getting a dime. The house is mine. I don't have savings. If you want a divorce, you leave with nothing. I supported you for years, and that's more than enough. I almost laughed. I had already guessed. He hid his assets, probably transferred them to his parents' /accounts to avoid splitting anything with me, but I didn't care. I could make my own money now, so he simply shrugged. Fine, no problem. Henry's smug expression faltered. He had been waiting for me to argue, maybe even beg. But when I didn't react, he became visibly unsettled. Then his voice sharpened. But George, you're not taking him. Heck, my son. I raised an eyebrow. Are you? Sure. I leaned forward slightly, my voice silky smooth. That's fine, I was planning to remarry anyway, and honestly, having a kid might make things inconvenient for my future husband, Ifu. Want custody, let you have him. Good luck to you and Rossi. Henry froze, his whole body stiffened as if the gears in his brain had jammed. He knew exactly what I was implying. His mother was selfish. Rossi had her own child to prioritize. If George stayed with them, he would be nothing more than an afterthought. His own father hadn't cared about him. Why would Rossi care about George? I told my head, twisting the knife deeper. Oh, by the way, how old is Rossi's daughter again? Just about George age, right? How sweet, you've got yourself a ready-made family, 1 boy, 1 girl. Congratulations. Henry's face darkened his expression. It was like a thunderstorm about to break. He didn't want to lose. He didn't want to let me walk away looking this good, this confident, this free, but he also didn't want to be stuck raising a child alone. And if I had full custody, have to pay support. A lose-lose situation. I could see the turmoil in his eyes. I smiled. Take your time to think about it. Let me know when you've made up your mind. Then, without another word, I got up and walked away. I had barely walked away from Henry when Lucas' number flashed on my phone. I sighed. Here we go. Moment. I picked up. She exploded. I heard you're divorcing. Henry, you heartless, ungrateful woman. Her voice was so shrill that my eardrums buzzed. I rubbed my temple. Did Henry forget to mention that he cheated? Maybe you should ask him first. There was a brief pause on the other end. Then, in a tone dripping with self-righteousness, Lucy scoffed. Henry didn't love that woman. He loves you. That girl is just some young, pretty banker. Of course she threw herself at them. But did he ever ask you for a divorce? No, that proves he still wants you, and you're the one leaving. Just goes, you finally make a little money. You're the heartless one here. I nearly choked on air. I had always known Luke's worldview was twisted. But this was a whole new level of insanity. She wasn't doned. Listen to me. If you want a divorce, fine, but you better pay us back for all the money we wasted on you, every meal you ate, every dime my son spent on you. Give it all back, do you think? My son raised you for 10 years for free. You ungrateful woman. I had enough. I took a deep breath, then shouted into the phone, if you're suffering from a mental illness, go see a doctor. Stop calling. May never want to see you again. And with that, I hung up. I refused to let that toxic woman take up another second of my life. After dealing with all this chaos, I needed to talk to Sunny. I checked the time was lunch break, so I dialed her number, but when the call connected, the voice on the other end wasn't hers. Oh ho, is this it? Was a man. His voice was deep and calm. I hesitated. This is Aname looking for Sunny. Who are you? There was a brief silence. Then in a solemn tone he said, so you're Anna. I see. When E arrived at the hospital, Sunny was still asleep. Her husband greeted me at the door looking exhausted, but polite. She had cervical cancer surgery a while ago. Her recovery hasn't been great, so she had to be hospitalized. Again, his voice trailed off as if there was more he wanted to say, but in the end, all he said was, he talks about you often. I think she'd like to see you. I sat beside Sunny's hospital bed, my chest tight as I looked at her. She had always been so with a touch of perfect makeup, always so full of life. But now she looked frail, pale, smaller than I remembered. The sight of her like this nearly broke me. When she finally woke up, her eyes crinkled with joy. The moment she saw me, Anna, she whispered, I'm so happy to see you. I didn't think I did get the chance to see you again. How have you been? I forced a smile, following the lump in my throat. My life is a mess, Sonny. It's not worth talking about. I lowered my gaze. The only thing that matters is you. Why didn't you tell me? Stop thinking about anything else. Just focus on getting better. Sunny turned her head toward the window, her voice soft, almost distant. First of all, I want to congratulate you for finally leaving that toxic marriage. Your husband was garbage. He never deserved you. I blinked. I had never told her the full story. I had only vented vaguely about my marriage in passing. So why did she hate Henry so much? She turned back toward Miss Billing. I still remember the first time I saw your post on Reddit, she murmured. I thought to myself, this woman needs help. Her eyes are filled with so much sadness, seeing my shocked expression. Sunny blinked playfully. I'm Sunny Bunny Yorfin. I've been following your journey for a long time. She must have enjoyed my dumbfounded look because she chuckleted. I hide it. Well, I still didn't fully understand what she meant. So I just nodded blankly. She sighed softly. That first time I saw your post, I had just been diagnosed with cervical cancer. I was in the worst mental state of my life. If it had been the old me, I probably would have been disgusted and scolded you for being so self-destructive, for letting yourself go like that. She paused, her voice quiet, but instead when I saw your photos, I just felt heartbroken. Suni gazed at the window, her eyes lost in memory. Then when I met you in person, I did. Life is never easy for women. Mimitha was a stomwife and she always warned me. A woman must have her own career. Relying on others will only bring suffering. So I worked like crazy. I threw everything into my job. I had two best successful. She gently squeezed my hand. Did you know, aside from my full-time job, I also had several side contracts. handling tax filings for small businesses. I worked day and night, a single tear slipped down Herrick's cheek. I made money, but I destroyed my health. Mike begged me to quit and focus on recovering, but I ignored him until it was too late. Hearing that, I couldn't hold back my own tears. A woman who does work becomes worthless in the eyes of society, stepped on by everyone. A woman who works too hard destroys herself only to end up empty-handed. No matter what, we always lose. I gripped Suni's frail hand, my voice choked with emotion. Forget everything else, just restore my sister now and greater than take care of you. She reached out and gently touched my face. You have a good heart, and that's why I wanted to be your friend. After visiting Sunny, I made my final decision. I gave up custody of George. Henry heard my choice. His first reaction was to mock me. You must have a new man already, and here you were accusing me of cheating. Turns out you were the one sneaking around first. I barely reacted. I don't have time. Fourth is decided. Henry's face darkened. Fine, but you'd better pay child support, and from now on George will call Rossi. Mom, you'll regret this. A sharp pain stabbed through my heart, but my face remained calm, unreadable. Do whatever you want, George, and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. That threw him off. He fell silent, his expression shifting. After a minute, he muttered, people always say women are colder than men. I get it. No, you really don't care anymore, do you? I met his gaze unflinching. Thought you made that clear, Henrik. Eyes turned red, rimmed his voice suddenly. Hurrah. Believe it or not, I never really loved Rossi. It was just a game, a work connection. If it weren't for business, I would have ended it ages ago. I wasn't the best husband. I know that, but I never abandoned. You know what people say about me. They say I was a responsible husband and father. He exhaled sharply, his voice growing more frustrated. I watched you change this past year. I was happy for you, I really was, but I never thought you'd change this much. You didn't just change your looks, you changed your entire heart. For a brief moment, something in me stirred. Because deep down, I knew Henry wasn't evil. He wasn't even the worst kind of man. He was simply selfish too. Selfish to truly love anyone but himself, and because of that, I knew I could never go back. We were like twolines that had intersected once only to drift further and further apart. There was no point in looking back now. After my divorce from Henry, I walked away with nothing except for my own savings. George vested with Henry, and I agreed to pay $10 a month in child support. A part of me needed time to save up before buying a house. I didn't want George to live in a tiny rental with me and feel like his life had fallen apart. But more importantly, I had something else to do. First, with no husband, no child, and no distractions, I devoted myself to work and to Sunny every day after work. I went straight to the hospital. I helped her wash up. I fed her meals. I chatted with her, told her jokes, and kept her companion. Hospital staff assumed I was her sister. They constantly praised me for my dedication. Sunny tried to protest 100 times, and you don't have to come every day. Take care of yourself first, but I refused to listen. Too late. I'm already divorced. I have nowhere else to go. If you ignore me, etc. Be even more pitiful, Sunny sighed. But after a while, she stopped arguing and started looking a little brighter each day. I knew her slow recovery wasn't just physical. It was the fear, the anxiety of losing control after being so independent for years. So I reassured her. I showed her my earnings from both my accounting job and my media business. Don't worry. I told her, even if you ever run out of money, I can take care of you at first. Mike, her husband, was wary of me. He suspected I was after her money, that I had an ulterior motive, but over time, as he saw how genuinely I cared, he let his guard down and became deeply grateful to me. One day I said to Suni, let's go to the hospital garden for some fresh air. Sunny sighed, it's too. I don't feel like going. I smiled. Itk, wrap you up in a thick blanket. Yeah, won't be cold at all. Maybe even take a few steps just to stretch. She still looked enthusiastic. So I pulled out my secret weapon. I held up my phone. My media business is officially real company. I've hired 3 people already. It's turning into a proper team. That got Harry tension, kept going, and guess what? I've made so many online friends, and they all know about my amazing sister. They're dying to meet you. Some of them are super hot guys. You'd love them. Her eyes brightened. Really, I grinned. Really, if your health improves, we'll go out together. I'll make sure you meet them, and if you want, I'll even get you a photo with them. Sunny's face flushed slightly of his smile. Creeping up the photo, think I can touch their apps too. Looked at each other, then burst out laughing with my care and support. Sunny gradually regained her health. Her cancer had been caught early, and her surgery had gone well. The only reason she had struggled so much afterward was her mental state, the exhaustion of a lifetime of stress and pressure. Once she recovered, I took her everywhere, events, vacations, shopping trips, movies, anything to make her feel alive again. We became inseparable. Even her son Jack started treating me like family. He was a college student, and whenever he was on break, headache dead. Along on our outings, Mike, a busy corporate executive, had little time for family. My presence in Sunny's life made things easier for him so every time we planned a trip, you would happily sponsor us. Enjoy yourselves, don't hold back on spending. I couldn't help but compare him to Henry. Mike was 100 times the man Henry ever was. That at night at dinner, Cindy and I were laughing as we tried on our new hats, admiring ourselves in the restaurant's mirrored walls. Then suddenly a commotion. We turned our heads as a loud argument erupted at a nearby tabelia. Small thin girl was crying, hysterically clinging to a woman who was scolding. A young boy, why did you push Olivia? Where are your manners? What kind of upbringing do you have? The woman was Rosie, and the boy, she was yelling at George, my son. I felt a hot wave of anger rise inside me as I stood up ready to march over, but before I could take a step, another sharp voice cut through the noise. They just kids playing around. You're blowing this out of proportion. That's why stepmothers are so heartless. If you dare lay a finger on George, it'll beat you to death. Rosie wasn't having it, snapped back, her voice dripping with disdain. Am educating him, it's for his own good. What if he grows up with no discipline? What if he starts breaking the law, doing drugs? Will you still bear on to stop him? Lutz's face twisted in fury. With a guttural growl, she lunged, grabbing a fistful of Rosie's hair. You shameless mistress. You think you're someone important? Just because my son likes you doesn't mean I do? You home-wrecking! Rosie screamed blindly, swinging her arms, scratching deep red marks across Lutz's face. The two clawed and yanked at each other, tumbling in a heap of shrieks and curses, completely oblivious to the growing crowd of spectators. People gawked, whispering, recording, and then through the chaos, Henry finally arrived, rushed forward, trying to break them apart, but Rosie, still seething, wouldn't stop. She kept spitting insults, her hands still grabbing at Lutz's hair. Henry's face darkened, then in a sudden flash of frustration, he slapped her heart the moment his palm connected with her cheek. A collective gasp rippled through the restaurant. Rosie froze, stunned. Olivia's wailing grew even louder, her tiny body heaving with sobs. The whole scene was Ames's, and that's when I calmly walked forward without acknowledging the disaster unfolding. I simply reached for George's hand. You all have a lot to sort out, I said lightly. Weck B, taking George with him. Henry, humiliated, barely managed to nod, but Lucy, oh, she was not having it. Look at you, trying to play the hero. You're the one who wanted to divorce you. Abandon George, and now you think you can just walk in and take him. I didn't waste a single second engaging. I simply turned and started walking away, leading George with me, but Lucy wasn't done. She ran after me, trying to block my way, grabbing at my arms with so many eyes. I didn't want to cause a scene, but Henry didn't stop her. He just stood there, letting his mother do as she pleased. Just as I was debating how to handle her, a tall figure suddenly appeared beside me. He pushed Lucy aside with one firm shove. Get out of the way. Lucy stumbled back, blinking in shock. She sized him up, a broad-shouldered muscularian man built like a proper athlete. Who the hell are you? She demanded. Jack racked his knuckles. The person who's telling you to mind your own business. Henry finally snapped out of it, rushing over to drag his mother away with Lucy out of the way. I led George out of the restaurant without looking back. When we got home, I sat George down and gently asked, tell me everything. His voice was quiet but steady. Dad finally took me out for dinner today, but Olivia always takes my stuff. He can't get what she wants. She cries, and when she cries, I get in trouble. I felt a sharp sting in my chest. Tears pricked my eyes. I had been so focused on taking care of Sonny, I hadn't realized how much my own son had suffered. George had grown so much. He no longer complained, no longer acted spoiled, just endured everything quietly. Jack must have noticed my mood. He clapped a hand on George's shoulder and said, Letton, go play soccer. George's eyes lit up. Really? Jack grinned, of course, without hesitation. George grabbed his shoes and ran outside with him. I wiped my eyes, then turned to Sonny. I have some savings now. I think it's time I get custody back. Sonny gave me a firm, approving nod. We all behind you. And true to his word, Mike immediately helped me find a top-tier lawyer after reviewing everything. The lawyer assured me getting George back wouldn't be difficult, but Henry refused to agree to my request for custody. Of course he wouldn't. All he had to do was dump George on his mother, keep collecting child support from me, and enjoy his life with Rosie. Why would he ever let that go? I stood up, smiling calmly. All right then, see you in court. And Rick's eyes glinted with something sly, and he suddenly pulled out his phone. Anna, this is you, isn't it? I glanced at the screen. It was a video. I recognized the setting instantly. It was from that chaotic fight at the mall. Apparently, someone had recorded the whole incident and posted it online and in the comment section. Someone had recognized me. Isn't this that influencer, the one who went from 200 PBS to 120? This still mom turned self-made woman. I had lost even more weight over the past few months between working full-time, managing my business, and caring for Sonny. I barely had time to eat, but mentally I had never been stronger. Henry Hover looked triumphant, like he had finally caught me in a lie. Well, you really hid this well, huh? He sneered, and I was feeling guilty about the divorce. Meanwhile, you were playing me for a fool. You must be making a fortuno, and when we divorced, you had the audacity to pretend you were broke. Henry's greed was bottomless. Every time I saw him, I thought I had hit rock bottom, only for him to prove that there was always a new low. I folded my arms, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You're unbelievable. You never once cared how hard I worked. You never once asked how I was holding up, and now you think you have a right to my money. Henry straightened his shirt cuffs, looking gutturally relaxed. Fine, you want to take George? Keep dreaming unless you hand over 500. Zero. You're not getting him. You lied about your income during the divorce. I want my share. I stared at him, mutterly disgusted. I had never loathed anyone more in my life that night. I sat down with Sonny and Mike to discuss everything after hearing. What? Henry demanded Mike's side. Don't worry, handle it. He immediately called our lawyer at our first court mediation. My lawyer laid out all the evidence before Henry. With a polite but ruthless tone, he began. Mr. Spencer, based on our investigation, your child has been residing primarily with his grandmother since your divorce, while you have Bianca habiting with Miss Rossi and her daughter, correct? Henrik's mouth opened, about to argue, but the lawyer continued unbothered. Additionally, on the 13th of last month, you personally attended Miss Rossi's daughter Olivia's school meeting while your school meeting was attended by his grandmother. Here is a signed statement from the school confirming this. Henry tensed. The lawyer flipped to the next document. This is a signed testimony from your neighbors, stating that your household frequently orders takeout and does not prepare home-cooked meals, raising concerns about the child's nutrition and general care. Another page. This is a medical report. A private physician during your period of custody. The child suffered a right arm fracture. Would you care to explain the circumstances? Henry slammed his fist on the table. Oh, come on. Every kid gets a few bruises. It's not like I broke his arm on purpose. The lawyer remained calm, his professional smile unwavering. We believe this incident highlights your lack of attentiveness. As a guardian, could you please outline your educational plan for the child? Additionally, could you confirm your ability to provide a stable environment that guarantees his well-being? He gestured to the final document. Meanwhile, me client Miss Anna Spencer holds a stable career, runs a successful business, and has recently purchased a home. She is fully capable of providing of living for the child. Henry's face turned pale, yet had thought he was the one holding all the cards. The mediation failed, but it didn't matter. Henry had been completely cornered, sweating under the lawyer's relentless question. The reality was undeniable. I had the upper hand in every way. I had financial stability, I had a solid support system, I had legal backing, and most importantly, I had Sonny and Mike's full support. Henry saw the confidence in my eyes and knew he was losing. So like the petulant child he was, he switched to tactics. He started harassing me nonstop, spamming my social media with hateful comments, posting lies, and ranting publicly, demanding that George testify in court to say who was the better parent. It was pathetic. But to me it was a sign that he was completely out of options, so I seized the moment. I took her entire story, every ugly detail, and shared it online. It had always been part of my journey, part of my transformation story, but now it had become a full-blown drama, and the plot twist. I had recorded our last conversation the moment Henry had named his price for our son. I had kept the proof. I uploaded the audio clip with a simple caption. This is what my ex-husband thinks of our child. The clip played. You want to take George Edrin unless you give me 500? 0. You hid your income during the divorce. I want my cut. The internet exploded. People were outraged. This man doesn't love his kid. He's using him as a bargaining chip. How disgusting can he be? I hope one day he realizes what he's done. Henry had officially become public enemy number one, and my platform grew bigger than ever. I found a new community, women who had endured the same struggles. Women who now stood beside me. If Henry hadn't been so greedy, I might have left things alone, but he had pushed. To far no, he and Louis couldn't even step outside without being whispered about. Neighbors pointed at them, muttering under their breath. And Rossi, the moment she saw how bad things had gotten, she packed up and left, taking Olivia with her. Henry finally panicked. For the first time, he realized how alone he was. Suddenly, he wanted to talk. He begged to meet. I ignored every call, every message. The only way to reach me was through my lawyer. I refused to give him a chance to manipulate me again, and in the end, with Sonny and Mike backing me, Henry caved. He accepted a small settlement and signed away custody after 13 years. I was finally free. Looking back, I realized something. Sometimes the things that drown you aren't as deep as they seem. You just have to stand up. I regretted waking up so late, but at least I had woken up at all. At least I had stood up when everything was finally over. Sonny hugged me, her eyes filled with tears. Shell held me tightly, refusing to let go, and for the first time I felt safe, like I had come home, like I had W. And that's mystery. If you've made it this far, thank you. I hope my journey inspires you, even just a little. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's still many more inspiring stories like mine for women like us. He'll be back tomorrow with another one. See you then.